Bonjour tout le monde, ça va bien, I'm doing very well. We are at the Tour de... Well, we're not at the Tour de France, but we're going to pretend we're at the Tour de France for the sake of this podcast.
Exactly.
We've just watched stage 1. Well, it's the morning of stage 2, but you kind of get the gist. And we're going to talk about it because a pretty crazy stage, I've got to admit.
It was a bang, like...
A bang like wah.
Yes, exactly.
Is the description. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Of course, that is my co-host Lucas. If you're new here, drop a subscribe. Exactly. If you're listening on podcast platforms, drop us a review. You know, this is the Wheelie Good Podcast. I did forget to say that.
Indeed.
But there we are. What do you know? I know you watched the last hour.
Yes.
I watched the whole thing because I'm a little gremlin. A grand old gremlin.
Yeah. So for people's info, I was on a plane from Korea to Japan and I had to get home. I had no data, so I only get to watch the final hour. But I watched that and I saw, I don't know, was it the like the final climb? Bogill decided just like fuck it, I'm gonna just ball it, and went for it. And we didn't mention that in the first episode, right? That Bogill would most likely go for stage wins. Or am I remembering wrong?
Yeah, I had him for KOM, I think, and I think you had him for a stage win. So
potentially,
you've got more wheel knowledge than I have already.
I mean, kind of cycling experts here. I'm just saying, Lantern Rouge podcast, they ain't this good. I'm at this point now. Anyways, so yeah, when I saw it, I was thinking it was going to be a typical, you'll get maybe 30 seconds, and then the Peloton's going to, speed up, catch him, and that's going to be it. But, hey, yo, big props to him for holding all the way. That was crazy.
Yeah, it was a pretty mental stage. I mean, it's a very fast start and a very crazy finish. The middle of the stage was pretty drab, but they always kind of are. And I'll explain to you what happened in the early parts of the stage.
Sure.
Because there was a 7-man breakaway.
Nice.
It was racking my brains here. Sandy Dujardin of Total Energy, he had a teammate with him, Mathieu Van Der Poel.
Okay.
Matej Mohoric was in the breakaway, which was pretty crazy. Big rider. You had Madouas of FDJ. You had Izagirre of Cofidis, Champoussin of Arkea, and Vandenbroek for DSM.
Some pretty decent
So that was the breakaway of the day. Uno X were especially active in the breakaway phase, but totally missed the actual move that went. So they tried with Tiller to get in the breakaway, they tried with Eiking to get into the breakaway, but neither of them could do it. And the breakaway got around a minute and a half, and I remember saying on stream, that's the breakaway done. But actually, Uno X had other options. They just decided to throw Abrahamsen off the front. And he was followed by a little Trek guy, South African champion Ryan Gibbons, who just sat on his wheel all the way because he's got Pedersen in the peloton.
Oh, yes.
And he was kind of just monitoring it to begin with. But Abrahamsen rode so crazy hard that he just rode his own way to the breakaway and just pulled Gibbons with him.
Fair enough.
And Gibbons gave him a kind of pat on the back as if to say cheers for getting me to the breakaway.
Fair.
Which was pretty cool. But yeah, it was a massive ride from him to make it to the break. Verscher was dropped on the first climb of the day, so not a good day for him at all. And for Total Energy, really. But we were seeing Izagirre just take the mountains points over and over again. Abrahamsen on occasion was unhappy with him for some sprinting, but I didn't think he had a case in that regard. But he was taking a lot of the early climbs, but he dropped actually quite early on, midway through the stage. So he was kind of cooked. Another rider that dropped was Champoussin, which was weird, again, because he should be one of the better climbers in that breakaway.
Right.
But he dropped. They were casually just being shelled over and over, and just nobody in the peloton was pacing. Nobody wanted to pace. everybody was kind of looking at each other. So you had UAE, Bora, Red Bull, Ineos Grenadiers. Jumbo just weren't even there at the front. But you just kind of had Bora, Ineos, and UAE just kind of looking at each other, seeing who would pace first.
Right.
In the end, none of them did. It was EF, for some reason, that were going for, I guess, the Bettiol stage win.
That's...
Who kind of panicked and started pacing on the front. But yeah, it was very, very weird in the way that they did it. They just sent Bissiger and I think it was Vandenberg to the front, who would have probably been semi-decent on a finish like this.
Yeah.
I think they were anticipating it to be harder than they thought.
Fair.
But either way, the gap started tumbling, and I thought, the breakaway's going to get caught. It's like 2 minutes with 70k to go. And then Bardet ended up going on a flyer.
Yes, sir.
Just while UAE were kind of soft pacing the, I think, third to last climb. And then all hell started to break loose.
Indeed.
So you had EF started panicking again. So they came to the front to kind of monitor it. Realised they couldn't necessarily chase him back.
Right.
So they threw Healy up the road to try and sort of chase him down. The problem was the gap at this point was like a minute easily.
Yeah, not the best strat maybe, but I mean...
So Healy's just in the middle of nowhere chasing.
Yeah.
Bardet makes it up to the lead group, which is now Madouas and Vandenbroek. Vandenbroek with a crazy ride, but we'll get onto that later. And in all this nonsense, I forgot to say that Abrahamsen was taking the climbs on the route. So with Izagirre dropped, he actually went into the mountains jersey at the end of the day, which is mental considering, he had to go really hard to actually make it into the breakaway to begin with. But yeah, you had this front group of three with one fresh guy in Bardet versus Healy on his own. And it was never going to work. And he was just riding at about a minute's gap for ages, it felt like. And I think if EF had have dropped him back and realised what they were doing, they would have caught these two guys up front, because Vandenbroek and Bardet dropped Madouas on the final climb. And I'll let you finish what goes on, because
as I remember, it was Bardet and what's his name again? His teammate? Vandenbroek, that was it. It was Vandenbroek pacing mostly. Bardet in his wheel. Jesus Christ, they're loud. And they were just pretty much just sending it. Like, if this didn't work, they were just, they put all their into this working. And I think it was like with 4 kilometers to go, there was, I don't remember how little of a gap between the peloton and them, but the Danish commentators were saying anyway that they didn't think it would go all the way, and I sort of had the same, but I'm not sure if the peloton wasn't pacing all out, or if they just were that fast. Maybe a little bit both, potentially. But yeah, Bardet and Vandenbroek going all the way, and Bardet winning. I'm not sure if it was on purpose that Bardet's going to win, or if they just sort of like, whoever won. It seemed like they sort of just like rode in at the same time, almost.
I think they must have prepared for Bardet to win.
Yeah. But it just looked very close when they crossed the finish line.
Yeah, it was a little bit too close for my liking. Yeah. I think you're kind of right. I think it was a mix of the teams were looking at each other, but at the same time they kind of didn't have the firepower to catch them as a sole unit.
Yeah.
So we saw like Little Trek and EF kind of sharing the pace, but EF again dropped Rui Costa back to kind of lead out Bettiol rather than go and join the relay to catch them.
Yeah.
Visma Lease Bike did, I think, enough work
Yeah.
for Wout Van Aert.
Yeah, they stole the
kind
bonus
of
seconds as
unfortunate.
well from Pogacar, so that was a nice little touch.
Yeah, so they did a decent job there. Pedersen just kind of faded. He was towards the back.
Yeah, he admitted,
going up most of the climbs.
He admitted afterwards that it wasn't looking good, and it wasn't even close. He admitted in like an interview. I'm not sure if it was Danish or English, but that's what I read anyway. So maybe next time.
Yeah, I think if Wout was saying in a English interview afterwards that as long as the hillier sprinters made it over the first two of those final 4 climbs, they were the hardest two. So if they made it over those, then they would have a chance.
Yeah.
And Pedersen was very close to getting dropped on the first 2 climbs, and I think did. But they sent back Schoins and who was it? Verona and Bernard as well. So they kind of helped pace him back.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think he just didn't have the legs in the end.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But yeah, your stage result then is Romain Bardet by wins with Vandenbroek in second. Frank Vandenbroek, my ride of the day personally, and absolutely deserved the combativity award.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Third was Wout Van Aert at,
Wait,
I think it was 15 seconds. This is a man who's doing it without looking.
Sounds about right.
It was 11 actually. Oh no, yeah.
11. Okay.
11 on GC, 5 on real time. It didn't feel like 5, I've got to say.
Nah.
Pogacar was 4th on 5 seconds,
Yeah.
and my pick for the day, Maxim Van Hils, was 5th, so not disappointed with that.
No. But do you think they're gonna go for the yellow jersey now though? With Bardet, or are they gonna, well, I guess they can't really go for stage wins the same way now because he has the yellow jersey, but do you think they're gonna go all out for it? Is what I'm wondering.
Yeah, I was listening to an interview with DSM's like head guy, their DS, after the stage, and he said like the plan was going into it for stage wins, and the plan is just going to stay going into it for stage wins with the whole team. So I don't think it'll be Bardet and Vandenbroek going for stage wins now. It'll kind of be the lesser guys or the other guys in that team.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody like Bardets going in the break.
Fair enough. I mean, I'm thinking it would be weird if they did. Well, I mean, of course you'll try and a little bit see what happens with the jersey, but like going all out forward, probably not the best shout, considering his opposition.
Yeah. And I am of the opinion that a stage win matters a lot more than 7th on GC.
Yeah, for sure.
But some people disagree. And I think there's a kind of mindset that GC is like the biggest thing in the world. But actually, me as a fan, don't really care about GC. I remember the stage wins more than whoever was like,
That's fair. So the question
but
is...
what I would want to see...
Go on.
What I would want to see is Bardet do something similar to... I think it was it Van Avermaet? Might have been Van Avermaet. But like he went into the breakaway on a like mountain stage or like hilly stage in the yellow jersey and just absolutely wrecked everybody. Like they allowed him into the break, obviously because he was like a sprinter guy. But he went into the break and just ruined the breakaway and won in the yellow jersey by like 5 minutes. It was crazy. So I'd love to see Bardet do that, but I don't think they'll let him go.
Nah, probably not. But I guess the question is, stage 2, how will that play out? I don't think Bardet probably won't really play a role in this stage, because like, where would he play a role? That's what I'm wondering. But do you think that, well, I would assume UAE anyways, with Pogacar are going to go all out to try and get some bonus seconds on the climb, because he's got pretty good odds of winning him if they're in a sprint.
Yeah, I'd say this stage is harder than stage 1. There was a lot of hype around how stage 1 was going to be the hardest stage 1 we've seen, but actually I think last year's was more difficult because of how steep the climbs were rather than the amount of climbs. And this is a case of not very long climbs but very steep. So the last two, a 10% average for 2Ks, which is gonna sort the men from the boys. So I think, now's the first time I think you're gonna start to see GC guys come out of their shell a bit. UAE actually slightly concerned me with Ayuso. He didn't look very good at all today.
Horrible, actually.
So I'm not sure whether they're gonna go all in. I think they might use that as an excuse not to pace. And Pollitt did a lot of work early on to monitor the breakaway because there were lots of teams going for it. But I think UAE might just try something but not be ridiculously aggressive. So maybe just Pogacar goes for the bonus seconds and then just tries to sprint for the win. I'm looking at somebody maybe like Red Bull Bora to sort of do something for Roglic, maybe try and attack. But I think we're going to see one of the GC guys attack, one of the sort of top 10 GC, maybe not like Remco or Roglic or Jonas, but one of the sort of outside guys go for an attack on the Côte de San Luca.
Well, I would assume Jumbo probably, Visma probably would make it so that the bonus seconds are not to be won by Pogacar, whatever that is, just not really pacing and the breakaway maybe getting there, even though it's a bit close to the finish, so maybe not. But at least doing all they can so that he doesn't get this. How many is it? Like 10 bonus seconds on the first, or how many is it again?
I think it's 6.
6, right?
I could be proved wrong, but I think it's 6, 4, and 2.
And I guess the best thing for them might just be a mass sprint with some hill riders and Van Aert for him to get a stage win. I think it's like the best way for that stage to go for them, really.
Yeah, I think they might throw somebody like Lemon, maybe, or Benoit into a breakaway, just to make sure that goes and takes the bonus seconds. I think if I'm in the Jumbo, the Visma Lease bike camp, that's what I would want to do.
100%.
So, and I didn't see too much of Bart Lemon today, which obviously makes sense because he's come in a little bit undercooked, but because of that reason, I kind of think he might go in the break. Predictions?
So many. I might just go for the boring Van Aert and say they catch the breakaway. He's there, it's like a sprint, and he just beats them. Just the boring one.
Yeah. Given that you've done Van Aert, I'll go for somebody maybe that's a little more of an outsider. Let's go for Pello Bilbao. Why not? From Bahrain Victorious.
Fair enough.
That is my pick. Who knows? It might be too hard for Van Aert.
True.
I don't think it will be because he looked pretty good today. But if it's too hard for Van Aert, that could be interesting, and we could be seeing like people that don't want to go for a sprint with Pogacar try rolling moves on him.
Yeah, for sure.
Which could be fun, but I agree with you. I think Van Aert's going to come in as the stage favourite.
Yeah, seems like it.
I don't think there's much more to say, really. What I will say, though, is it was a really good winner today. Or yesterday. Bardets, one of the nice guys in the peloton. Like everybody in the post-race interviews was saying, like, congrats to him. And I remember when it was at Liège-Bastogne-Liège 2022 when Alaphilippe had a really horror crash and Bardet was kind of got off his bike and tried to help him. That kind of sticks in the memory and, you know, if everybody's talking about him being like, this is a really nice guy and he deserves the win, he's obviously somebody who's been a bit of a nearly man in the last few years, and I thought was slowly going to be making his way out. But I'm so glad he's got his win in his final Tour de France and on stage 1.
It is lovely to see. Now, who will not get their final win will be Cavendish, but that's for another day in our podcast.
I mean, he looked really bad today.
Yeah.
I thought, my initial thoughts were, he's been dropped on climb 1, it's over. And then Jakobsen and Gaviria were also dropped at the top of climb 1. Okay, so we're back. He's been sick, it's over.
Yeah.
And it kind of stayed at it's over for the rest of the stage. I think immediately Arnaud Delis showed me that he might be up there in the sprints, because he lasted a lot longer than I thought he would on some of the climbs today. Now, whether that's just inexperience of going hard on these difficult stages, compared to Philipsen, who was out of the back halfway through the stage and just kind of rolled in, or whether he's actually got the legs at the moment, I'm not sure. But I'd keep an eye on Arnaud Delis for the early sprint stages.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, that about sums it up, I think, for stage 1 and 2. Leave your predictions in the comments if you're watching on YouTube. If you're watching on Spotify or Apple or whatever, go to YouTube and leave a comment. And I don't know, subscribe, rate, all that stuff. And we'll see you all tomorrow with stage number 2, post stage, my brain's not working, thing, and a preview of stage 3. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
I love outros.
Yeah, we need to work on the outro. Maybe.
Yeah, there's gonna be work done.
Maybe slightly.